Tell me, guys, how you start your day usually? What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? Well, except you kiss your loved ones. So what I do, I usually check my email. And some people say it's a bad habit. But I'm kind of very curious what's happening while I was sleeping my 5, 6, 8 hours on a good day. And I remember my November 1st morning when a friend of mine shot me this link to this article. So he shot me an email with this link to this article. And then he asked me, Ievgenii, what do you guys did in Microsoft? If I go to TechCrunch, Mash, The Verge, all those got kind of very, very respectful editions talking about some cool stuff Microsoft built. And if you look on a title, it's really like a very bold title. Basically, it's saying Microsoft did something which not like require attention or interesting to know, but something which disrupt. And disrupt is like a very strong English word, even for me as not English speaker. So, and what I replied to him, I said, you know what? You're right, something has happened while I was sleeping and you were sleeping. Stay curious. Microsoft released a new business application as a part of Office 365. It's the first time in a modern history. If you remember, like 10 years back, we had like a Office accounting product. But for our modern history, 5, 6 years while we went to the cloud, it's the first time we're doing something like that. There's a number of business applications coming, rich, beautiful, working with each other. And the best way to experience that, take a look on a 2-minute video. It's a short video. It's a marketing video, but it's an amazing video. And then we go to engineering and how we build all that stuff. Let's take a look.
I think it was 3rd grade. I decided that building buildings would be cool. I had the Legos, I had the Lincoln Logs, I had the connector set. I'm an architect at heart. Design is really cool to me. It's what we do, and it's the fun part of architecture. As a small business, we don't have a marketing department. We don't have big budgets. When we first saw that Microsoft had come out with the new business apps, I jumped on the chance to use it.
The business apps really help us to offer an additional level of polish to our service for our clients.
Outlook Customer Manager gives us an opportunity to see what's going on with clients all in one spot. I don't have to be CC'd on emails, but I still know what's going on. I travel a lot and I'm on my phone a lot. MileIQ automatically tracks my mileage and is with me wherever I go. The Connection app is a simple way for us to send out professional-looking email marketing campaigns. Invoicing allows us to generate an estimate or send out a request for a deposit.
The Invoicing app is very intuitive. It takes just a couple of minutes to generate, hit send, and it's off to the client.
The Listing app allows us to see a dashboard view of our engagement on our social media and our website.
I'm really excited about bookings. When we are trying to arrange our busy daily schedule with clients, we're able to coordinate something that works for both of us.
Having one place in the business center to track and communicate with my team is very valuable to me.
The benefit is that it's integrated. One product works with another.
I like the business center because it lets me see the heartbeat of my business.
The biggest challenge of running a business is everything that I have to do, and I only have 24 hours to do it. Business apps are just so simple, they're built in, they're easy to use.
How was that? It was nice, right? It was nice. It's a nice video. And of course, the question we have, what does Tenerife has to do to all that? And apparently, it has to do a lot. It's an NAV TechDays, it's an engineering conference, it's an engineering talk. And what we're going to do for next 1 hour, we have 3 presenters to keep you busy to explain how does Tenerife involve in all this business? How does Tenerife even enable us to build those modern experiences as a part of Office 365? And at the end of the day, what is the value for you as a CL engineer, as an NAV partner, and how NAV community benefits strategically, long-term and short-term, out of our partnership with Office on that work. So let's get us started. There was like some nice animation supposed to be. Yeah. So let's make a quick demo. What is all these business apps about? So first of all, I want you to think about this story. think about this story. So our users went online, they found an app, they kind of just jump on them. It's a very decent users, they're not technical, they're not like IT experts, they don't know what ERP means. They just found the products which enables them to get the work done very, very fast and efficient. So if I would be a user, I'll probably go to office.com. If I have Office Business Premium or Microsoft 365 Business License, first time I go here on my waffle, I can see there is like a right square on the right for me, on the left for you. And if you go here first time, it'll kind of blink to bring your attention. You can also see it stand out of Microsoft apps like Word, Excel, Office. So my point, it will be very, very prominent for people that something new is happening. It's called New Business Apps. We want to bring your attention. So I'm going to click this button. And then we'll load in the product, which is called Business Center. The Business Center, as our user is saying, is a heartbeat of our activities, our business. The best way to think about it as a role center or workspace if you come from IX community, something we can see in one place, everything where it's happening. I'm going to give you a very basic introduction what we can do to give you awareness about functionality and main flows, and then we'll talk about how we managed to build all of that, or a big part of that. So first time you go to Business Center, you want to kind of complete a couple of basic tasks. The first tasks I want to do is to set up what we call the business profile. So basically, in this scenario, we are a company, we call ourselves NAV TechDays, we are providing some consulting services. So I can upload my logo. What I can also do, I can select a coloring or schema coloring for my branding. So let's say my brand have a bluish logo, so I want to make sure all my customer-facing materials like invoices, quotes, marketing emails will have this coloring schema related to my branding. So I can go ahead and easily select that. What I can also do, I can define my business data, where I'm stored. In that scenario, we're in US, somewhere in Redmond, but we can be in Canada, in UK, in Denmark, where I want to be. So I define all my business data once, and all this data will come to all my customer-facing documents like invoicing. So once I define who am I as a business, where I'm placed, and what is my data, all this setup goes across business apps, so you don't need to go to every new business app, and type it again and again and again. Kind of just handle all this complexity for you. Now, while you're in a business center, you have this overview of main KPIs, what's happening. In this case, you have some KPIs on my invoicing activities. I see that someone owed me $80. I can follow up with him why it wasn't paid, and so on and so forth. What is interesting about that, we have an action feed, we call it a pulse. Every time my employees from my organization, as we saw in a video, will make different activities, send an invoice, start a marketing campaign, get a payment. We'll go to collect all this data from different sources and visualize to the user at a very, very nice interface. I can quickly go through them, I can see what's happening. In that scenario, I have an overdue invoice. I can see invoice details. I can resend it right away if, let's say, that invoice got lost or wasn't arrived for some point of time. So I can take action right away without going anywhere else. That's like a main dashboard and main business center experience. On the left side, we have this like a functional areas. Again, classical way to think about this functionality. We have an invoicing area where you can create beautiful invoices in a couple of clicks, send them to a customer, get the payments back, create your estimates or quotation, convert them to the invoice, see an overview, how you're doing. You want to see how many, overdue invoices do I have. So I need to call those two guys to do something about it. They're supposed to be paid a long time ago, as of yesterday and the day before. We have something called bookings, and we have a lady who said she really, likes bookings. So what bookings allow you to do, when you'll be able to load it. So I'll go to, let me just switch to Explorer. If I'll go to bookings, when I'm slowly going to bookings, so the thing is that it's not the best Wi-Fi here, and our tenant running in a, close to Texas. So we need to fly over the Atlantic to Texas, getting back, and we are still not there apparently. Okay. So let me show you a new tab. How would it look like? The bookings allow you to define a customer-facing web experience. Let's say I'm a company. We provide a consulting services. What I can do, I can publish all the services I'm providing on web. So in this case, we have a page from my organization, NAV TechDays, and you can see we're providing a couple of services, which sounds weird. But let's say you as a customer want us to book us for a haircut or give a talk to you. You can say, hey, please, NAV TechDays company, I want to get that service on a given date, on a given time. Anyone from your staffing can do that. And my name is Stan, and here's my email, .com, and you book. So you as a customer can book us as an organization to provide a specific service for you. It can be repairment, maintenance, or just do something on your behalf. We will receive this event, so we know we need to provide a service for you. We can find you, and then we can send you an invoice once you finalize and provide for your service. Let me see if my business center back to life. Okay, let it give it one more try to load. And it's fine. If it's not, we can come back to that later. We also have a connection which allows you to create marketing campaigns, and we have a listing which allows you to define your web presence. We'll have a number of demos later today to cover those topics. What I want to do now, I want to just create a first invoice. So our customer told us she was able to create a first invoice in a couple of seconds. Let's see if we can also do that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select a customer. So in this case, I need to send an invoice to the Stan. It's a good colleague of mine. I have a lot of business with him. I'm going to just search as you type, put his name. I already fill out all my address for him. I know that he's in Washington, Renton. I know what should be the proper sales tax applied. I can go ahead and just select a consulting, just create a couple of lines. Let's say it's 2 hours of consultancy. And I stand actually, he's a great guy, so let's give him some discount. We can give him a percentage discount or amount discount, let's say 12%, and just press the OK button. And by the way, he's so nice, let's just say, hey, stay with us. We can leave a customer personal note for him, or describe why do we send us this invoice. We can add a number of attachments if you need to prove the service you provide, spreadsheets, photos of your work, whatever you need to do. And I can go ahead and click Send button. And that's really it. Now when I'm pressing the Send button, what we do, we'll show you a very, very small dialog where you can preview how would your final invoice look like and how would your customer message would look like. So let me show you your invoice quickly here. So now we're going to fly to Texas and back very fast this time. We can show some details. I'm just using a gesture on my touch screen. Just a beautiful invoice, very simple. It comes from NAV TechDays Consulting to our Stan. Here is the service he provided, and he can use a PayPal if this is his preferred payment method to pay for us. And I'm going ahead and just click Send button. So what's happening now, I just send an invoice, and it was very fast, but if you see this list of items, we had an invoice which just kind of automatically pop up on top of that list. This list is a very modern React components which are powered by our business API, which Tenerife provides. So we just post an invoice, we fly to Texas back, we go back, and we can refresh the list of all the activities. Very, very fast, very powerful, even we're in Europe. So how would this document look for the end user? It will look something like that. So I have another one. Have you seen the sound? So I just got my invoice. And actually, Outlook has this amazing feature. I don't know if you've seen that, but you can see your attachments in parallel to your email. So the customer will see an email like, hey, dear our Stan customer coming from our organization, here's your invoice. You need to pay for us this amount on this date. And you can use a PayPal to do this. And if he opens the attachment, here he will see his invoice. We see a discount we gave him, and we have this personal note on the screen. Let me zoom it if you don't see it. Okay, so it was quite straightforward, you can say. All right, so now let me take a scenario, I just went out of my office, I'm gonna go, and when I'm gonna go, I have my mobile with me. If I go to connect to my mobile, is it projected? Excellent. Let me just show it. So on one mobile phone, I have all these business apps installed from Microsoft. I have bookings, I have connection, and I have invoicing. I'm going to click invoicing button. It's going to bring very modern experience built on phone, specifically for the users to perform one simple task: send the invoices fast and collect the payments very, very fast. It's a very modern app. I can just scroll through it. I can see all my invoices. I can see my estimates. I can create a new invoice right away on the fly and send it. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to my invoice list, and I know there is a send invoice I just sent to the Stan. And let's say I met him in an office or at his place. We provide some service, and he just gives some money in cash. I can go ahead on my send invoice and say, hey, I want to register some payments. If he will pay through PayPal or any kind of payment providers like with Apple Pay, we'll automatically detect his payments and automatically register in our system. But if you just give me in cash, I can say, hey, I just received a cash from him. And that's really done. I just got a payment, and I know that invoice was paid. Here we are. It kind of have a status paid now. That's all. So I just collect the payment, update all my books, and all my accounting on the backend just finally works. So let us switch back and talk a little bit what just has happened. So we've seen very, very modern experiences, which looks very nice and office style. If I wouldn't tell you, no, let's put it this way. How many of you would think there's the NAV behind all of that? Really? Okay, it's a disappointment, big amount of hands. So we made a survey, we showed it to many, many people, and actually, people from NAV community recognize it, of course. You see the navigation pattern from Outlook style where we create our invoice, but in the real world, people feel it's like a native Office experience when you start dealing with those tools. And it's very well aligned to other UI identity across other Office products. So why would you care? Why would you care about these apps? There are 3 main points why would you want to care about that. First of all, Microsoft believes in SMB space and business. SMB cloud presence grows every year with amazing speed, and we want to be part of the game. Office 365 is the biggest productivity suite from Microsoft. That's kind of what can give to our people for a very a small amount of price, and it has amazing reach all over the world. And for Dynamics, it's an amazing opportunity to be part of that big reach, but having these business apps built on our platform and be shipped as part of one Microsoft with our Office 365 SKUs. And all the stuff built, by the way, by the product which you guys know and love. Not me, even not Monica, but you know which CodeUnit is posting and sales invoice when it's happening. So now I want us to step back and think about it. What does it mean for us as a platform to be able to build those modern experiences? Just think about it. So you want to build first-party Office applications, which should be able to run as fast as you just seen, even when it flies through Atlantic, in the proper data centers. So what does it require, for a platform to build modern business apps as a part of the Office? So first of all, it should be a damn good platform, if I'll put it very, very shortly. It's hard to imagine you can build business application in a given country if you don't have a strong ERP backend which know everything about the local taxation, local rules, and local business processes. And Tenerife gives us this planet scale which allows us to power Office offer in those countries where Tenerife is present. Our users, our Office users, it's a decent people. They just want to run stuff and make it running smoothly without any issue. So all thing about service, upgrade, downtime, availability, just should to work. And we are very, very proud where we took our service, as Vincent spent almost 25 minutes on the first keynote, just to make sure we can support such kind of offer on such kind of scale. A scale is critical, and our business API, the ability to communicate with our backend and create a business application is a key for us to enable that. So the point here, it's much, much more than just a platform which has some data storage. And how do we achieve that? Every time for every Office tenant, and it's using these tools, we're going to provision an NAV tenant in the backend. We exposed a number of APIs with a special naming, like contosa.invoicingoffice.net, which allow us to communicate through our business APIs with this Office offering. How many Office SMB users do we have in the US? Tell me the number. How many do you think? How much? 4 million. Good number. More? 50 million. An amazing number. More? So I don't know, honestly, but just so it's 100,000 of tenants. We all understand that. So scale is huge. Scale is really huge. So for us as a platform to be able to power all this offer, all these tenants, is just an amazing opportunity to prove that we have, platform of the future. So let me talk a little bit about the platform and how does Tenerife really, really works in that scenario. We've seen how it looks, but where is the Tenerife here? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click here, and I'll zoom for you, and use this beautiful tool to do like this. So here's my ID domain. It can be contosa.com or Kronos US. So this is my organization domain in Office AD. Because I know that, and because I know there is a Tenerife behind, what I can do, I can call a link or construct a link which look, let me just run it, which look like this tenant name and then .financials.dynamics.com. So what I'm doing right now, I'm going to the backend of the offer of what we just seen, and I cheat a little bit. I enable this new preview of new user interface, or this new coloring and schemas, just to keep you more entertained. But that's where it is. So here's the backend for that Office demo we just did. It looks a little bit weird and fancy, but you can recognize some of the main entities. You can say, hey, here's my list of invoices we just created. Here's my customer list. Here's my items, and so on and so forth. It has very, very similar navigation pattern. So for example, here's an invoice we just created with you and a first demo. Here's all these lines, and so on and so forth. So the point is here that if I wouldn't tell you that, and you wouldn't know that, that doesn't exist for you. But now you know that for every Office tenant, we have an ERP backend which supports those modern experiences. And that just become very, very interesting. So let me do like that. I'm going to take a look on some of the draft invoices. So there is one draft invoice for Andreas Moth. I just click on it quickly, and I see there is 2 lines. I'm going to switch back to my phone experience. By the way, we give you iOS demo, but if you use Android, you also have an amazing phone on Android. It's just apparently very hard to connect Androids to rooms like that. So here's my 2. Okay, we want to talk about estimates, about invoices. So I have 2 draft invoices, and one of them is the same draft invoice as we just seen in our NAV backend. I'll just click on it here quickly. And let me add one more line. I haven't shown you how we do it. So we just press next. Let's say we'll also bill him for another consulting service, and we just say done. And I'll just save here. So what I just did, I just add one more sales line on an invoice through Office experience. Now I immediately go back as fast as I can, and I just, is it the same invoice? Yeah, so actually I would expect to see one more line here, obviously. Let's just see one more time. Here you go. Yeah, I have to refresh my page. So what just has happened, I use a phone experience, I modify business entity, and seconds or milliseconds after my NAV, ERP backend is knowing everything which just has happened. We run all business logic. We can make all postings. We can do everything that you would expect happening when you perform any business operation, which is amazing, by the way. And this just becomes very, very interesting here. So now let me go back to Business Center. I'm going back to my dashboard. think about our users. So let's say I found the gentleman on the first row, and he found this office tools. He wants to try them out, and he wants to see what they can do. He doesn't come from a blue. He has probably some places or some tools which he already used. He can use his spreadsheet, he stores his data. He can use another local ERP systems to run their business. So how can we help those users to move to our Office Business Center offer? So to enable that, together with Office team, we built a number of connectors which allow us to bring their data to the Business Center. We can import the Google contacts, we can bring the CSV files, definitions, but you can also connect to their local systems. I'm in US, and in US, QuickBook is a great, amazing product, to run accounting for small, medium businesses. And let's say for our example, they still want to continue using that, just because they're used to that, their account will love it, we don't want to disturb them. So in this case, I can enable synchronization with the QuickBook, just say enable sync, and let's see what's happening. I obviously already did that. So here's my QuickBook account, and you can recognize some of the invoices we just created. Here's my list of invoices. I have my list of customers. I have my list of products and services. In my current scenario, this data was created here. So I was using QuickBooks for a period of time, and now I want to try Business Center. So we just created before this demo this item, which called NAV TechDays demo service. It was created in the QuickBooks. And now if I go back to the Business Center, I'm clicking on invoicing. I'm clicking show me my list of prices. It will load. And then I can just use a search, type NAV TechDays, and here we go. So what just has happened is the data which was created in other systems just appear to be part of the Business Center. And guess where would it end up? Where would it end up? In Financial Tenant, finally. That's actually exactly where would it be. So if I go back to my NAV tenant, or my Tenerife tenant, here's my list of prices, and all this data is already moved here. And it's not just one-way sync. Every time I can continue with invoices, adding items, customers, all the data will go transparently between those two systems. We don't want to disturb if they just love that product and want to continue to be used. So where does it bring us? It brings us to this absolutely amazing realization. So users use their systems and data where they know and love for a period of time. We built a number of connectors which allows them to move their data to our Business Center so they can get started with all these modern business tools, which requires them 2 clicks just to make their things done. And because there is a financial tenant on the back end, all this data flow to us. And not about just the data. And then through our common data service integration, we power all our ecosystem from the data which just flows to Dynamics tenants. Just visualize that. You have your tools, all the data coming to Office Business Center, then it goes to Dynamics, and then it powers all our ecosystem. So now you can go ahead and build Power Apps, Microsoft Flows, wherever we want, having all the data in place. We have all entities, customers, services. We have all transactions, where you do your invoice posting, where you do payment registration. We have all initial setup. We run all business logic, and we also have extensions. For example, our QuickBooks integration story is powered by Tenerife first-party extension, which we built just to enable those integrations. So Tenerife is just beyond data storage. It's a real platform which allows very, very rich integrations, data storage, and a planet scale. So now we're going to talk how do we build that practically. What is the CL part here, client, server, and so on and so forth. And then once we do that, we'll talk in the end what is here for you as a partner and engineer to go through all this story. Monica?
Yep. Thank you, Ievgenii, for giving us this nice introduction about all the data flows and Business Center. So now we're going to talk in detail about how we build invoicing in Business Center based on Dynamics 365 platform. So we're going to share this experience of building Business Center in 3 dimensions. The first one is how is the user's first run experience? By first run experience, I mean what does user see for the first time he lands into Business Center? Then we're going to talk about what new platform capabilities that we introduced while building Business Center. And we're also going to talk about new CAL features that we developed while building Business Center. So this all can be interesting for you all because this is available in next on-premise release, and all of this is also available in Tenerife platform. So let's see how is the first run experience for users in Business Center. Consider I'm a small SMB business user, and I just land up in Business Center and see this dashboard that Ievgenii just showed us. So the first time I click on Invoicing tab, it shows me this place where we can just start by creating a new invoice and clicking on this link. So we have seen this page, and we start typing the name. Since this is smart enough, but have you guys realized that what did I just do? I can start creating my invoice by clicking a new link without any assisted setup, without any wizards, without configuring my accounting period, number series, and all those stuff. It is the first time I just click a link and I have to do no ERP setup and I'm ready to create an invoice. So since Business Center is smart enough to load all my contacts from Microsoft Graph, I just have to type my existing customer name for whom I want to create an invoice. So Andreas, I provided you a service. Yeah, here he is. Let's see. So first time I enter invoice for an existing customer, since I have never done any configuration, I will get a notification saying set up your tax. And this is a very simple notification where you just click and it knows that my business is in Redmond, Washington. I just have to enter the tax rate that I wish. So let's say 3.5 and state rate is 7.5. And 2 numbers, and I'm good to go with all my tax engine. Yeah, here it is already reflected my tax system in the system. So I'll just go ahead and bill Andreas for the services I provided. So painting, I did it for 2 hours, and I think item doesn't exist already, so I have to create, right? This is the first run experience. So we do painting, and the price is, I don't know, $500? Oh, $5,000 is a bit too expensive. Yeah. And here we go. So I provided 2 hours of service with $5,000. And you can see that all I did was just adding a customer name, adding 2 tax rates, and creating an item, and I'm good to go to send my invoice. We already have the tax calculated here, and I will like to now just send it. But before sending it, I'm a normal customer, right, who runs a small business. I'm not very confident what I'm sending to my customer. So I will go and preview the invoice. So this is a new NAV platform capability that is introduced that you would have heard before in some of the sessions, where we now can preview the PDF in browser. So I see the PDF, it looks nice, it has my address, line items, and all that stuff exists, tax is calculated, and it's good to go. But I just realized that I want my customer to pay me via PayPal. So I want a link on my invoice where he can just click and pay me by PayPal. So what do? I close this PDF. I save my draft invoice. Just go to settings. And here I have a simple setup where I go for PayPal and say my PayPal email address.
So while Monica, yeah, my mic is down. I'll keep silent. So while Monica is doing that, it's a US scenario. If you'll be in UK, it's just the VAT rates. You don't need to define them. If you're in Canada, we can figure out in which province you are and just default your sales tax without even asking you. So a lot of intelligence, how to make sure there is zero setup for user ever needed. You just need to be able to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So I just went and set up my PayPal email address. I'm clicking on my invoice again to see if the PayPal link was included into the preview. Oh yes, here it is. That's good. So I will also like to maintain a copy before doing this. So I'll go to print and print the copy. I guess I don't have the printer connection here, so I'll do that later. But we can print, and that's another new NAV platform capability that was introduced while building Business Center. So for now, I'll just click this, and I'm ready to go. I'll click send. Okay, so this gives me a just-in-time email setup. Of course, you can say that we could have defaulted this to the user's office user's Outlook email address, but our users wanted a feature where they can set up their Gmail address from which they can send the invoices. So we allowed them to do this.
Yeah, the main point is not about Microsoft ecosystem. We go where the user goes. So half of our demo is on the Chrome, if you notice that. So that just needs to work perfectly fine on all devices.
And I'm good to go. Never. And that's it. Here I send the first invoice. So if we go to the demo, we just see what have we seen. So we saw a zero ERP system. What does that mean? We just let our users start right away, right? No assisted setups, no configuration needed. Like one click and you're ready to click your invoice. What else we saw? We saw first run experience with modern look and feel. We saw just-in-time tax setup, email setup, beautiful and simplified report layouts, and we saw simple payment setup for PayPal, right? And all of this is nothing but reused business logic that you all know and that you are masters at, that you all love. So we build all this functionality based on NAV reused business logic. We also saw new platform capabilities like PDF preview and print of reports. So I would like to talk more about Zero ERP system because this is exciting, right? It just enables users to start right away. So how did we actually achieve it? As we all know that we have now a tenant sitting in the Microsoft Office environment, and this tenant runs on my company. So on the existing data setup, what we do is run a Delta code script that does all the initial configurations that are needed to do manually via Wizard in financials. We just automate those configurations. So we just set up the number series, we decide the customer templates and item templates that needed to be applied. We make the sales and receivable setup and all the configurations automatically. So here is the CodeUnit if you guys are interested. So you need to just go to the CodeUnit 2110, and this CodeUnit runs when we run our My Company, and it sets up all the initial data setup. So as Ievgenii mentioned, you can see here that we also initialize tax, VAT, all for every country, and it helps easy start for the users. So why is this interesting? As I said, zero ERP setup or minimal configuration, which lets users start right away.
Think about your customization. Think about your experience. You need to configure a system. SAP consultants make their living just to configure stuff to get something started, right? It's amazing business. And here it just works. It really just works. And we all know how hard to make these simple things to happen.
Yeah.
So we really want to reflect on that statement.
Yep. So that was one feature. Now we're going to talk about more new features that we developed while having this Business Center experience. So one of the main features that Ievgenii showed was this dashboard where you saw a lot of notifications, and we call them as pulse events. So what are these pulse events? Pulse events are the actionable notifications on Business Center. Basically, they are nothing but flyouts that tells the user what you have to do today. So how this system work? These events are generated in our Dynamics 365 Tenerife platform, and then we push this to Microsoft Graph. Business Center has unified APIs and unified schemas to query these events and show it in the UI. So that's how this works. Let's have a quick look how we can see these pulse events. Thank you. Yes. So these are the pulse events that we have seen. So let's say one of your employee in the organization sent an invoice. You want to instantly notify this on the dashboard, right? So we see here, John Doe sent a new invoice to Stan. You did. And then if a customer paid an invoice, we show a notification that customer paid an invoice. So these are all instant events. Something happens and we instantly notify. There are also time-based events that we want to notify. For example, an invoice gets overdue. And that gets overdue after 2 weeks or for 3 weeks, some things, and we want to notify the user that this invoice has been overdue. Do you want to take some action? You want to take a retry? You resend to the customer or something. So we also have overdue invoices here. You can see here, for example, this one.
You send an invoice and then nothing happens. No events, nothing happens. But you need to know somehow 2 weeks from now, system need to notify someone that some follow-up is needed. So how on earth would you build that?
Yeah. So how do we build that? Let's see. Yes, so we just saw time-based and instant events. So instant events were easy to build, right? We just hooked into the functionality and then sent an event, sent a job queue which sends the events. So what exactly we did? Let's say when an invoice was sent, we have this table which maintains the events called calendar events. And this table is responsible to say which type of event occurred and when are we supposed to send this event. So for instance, sorry. I need to, yeah.
That's fine.
For instant events, this was quite easy. For example, when you send an invoice, we just create a send event. And in create send event, we can use existing CodeUnit called calendar event management, which creates the calendar event and sets a job queue entry to run today. As you can see, and then instantly these events will be pushed to Graph, where Business Center can query them and show it on UI. So 2 new things for us, right? New table, calendar event, and new CodeUnit, calendar event management. Why is this interesting? Because of this. We can show so many instant events like paid, sent on the spot. Then we had time-based events. So the time-based events, as I said before, occurs over time. Why are these interesting? Because the way we can schedule the job queues that send these time-based events. One way, and the first approach that we think is, we schedule a job queue entry that looks for these events for each tenant every day or every hour. So something like this. But the problem with this is that it does not scale to thousands of users, right? It's not good for resources because you are actually looking every hour or every day, oh, has a time-based event occurred? No. And that's not what we want to do. So we will try to be smart about it and we'll go with another approach. So let's consider that we want to notify an invoice has been overdue and how we will do it. So instead of sending a job queue which checks if the invoice is overdue today or not, we schedule a job queue to run when the next earliest event needs to be triggered. What do I mean by that? Stay with me. Let's say on day 1, invoice 1 was sent, which had an overdue date with day 4. So that means I need to trigger an event on day 4. Since there is no job queue right now, I will just create a job queue that is scheduled to run on day 4, and it will trigger this event. Easy, clear. Now we have day 2, where invoice number 2 was sent with overdue date on day 5. So that means on day 5, another event needs to be triggered. Instead of queuing another job queue, I will wait because there is already a job queue that exists on this event or before that. So that in our case, it exists on day 4, so I will wait. I'll not create a new job queue entry. Also, another invoice was sent on day 2, which was overdue on day 5. So I'll have two events to notify on day 5. So let's say on day 3, invoice 1 was paid. That means it will not be overdue anymore, right? So I don't want to notify on day 4 that the invoice is overdue. That means I want to remove the entry from the calendar event table that I mentioned. So I'll just remove this entry, and I will shift the job queue to start on the next earliest event, which in our case is day 5. Yeah. Yes. And another invoice was sent on day 3, invoice number 4, which is to be overdue on day 6. So I'll have an event here. Yep. Now let's say on day 4, nothing happened, and on day 5, we just run the job queue. So that means we notify that today, on day 5, invoice number 2 and invoice number 3 are overdue. So user gets a notification, and these run together, and then we just move the job queue to the next earliest event, which is day 6. So did you guys see that instead of creating a job queue every hour or every day, I saved up resources by just handling it in a smart way? And that's what, it's a complex problem of scheduling jobs in time-based events. And we can use this approach in so many other problems to solve. For example, if you want to notify your user that you haven't done anything in last 7 days, will you like to send an invoice? You can use this approach, and it can easily scale to thousands of tenants.
Yes, it will.
It will, yes. Let's talk about how we did these time-based events. So instead of instant events where we actually schedule a job queue instantly, we here schedule a job queue on the due date. So that's how easy it is to just send a time-based event. Next, yeah.
Maybe we should reflect on that. So the idea is that with the upcoming on-premise release and Tenerife release, you have a lot of frameworks you can use to solve similar problem in your implementation and in your real needs. Just one example.
Yes. Now we're going to talk about one more feature that we built while developing this. So we all are used to setting up SMTP, right? And this is another feature which we developed for sending emails, where we notify if the email failed. So, so how do we do this? Let's see a quick demo of this. Mm-hmm.
It's not showing. Thank you.
Yeah, here you go.
Yep. Yes, so I just clicked, I already sent an invoice to a customer named Badur, and I just realized when I click on this, I get a notification that your last email was not sent. So, and it also it's smart enough to tell me why it was not sent, and says check the customer's email address. And I can just I see there's not a valid email address, so I just edit the customer and change the email address. If I can type quickly, yes. And then I can resend, and it will be successful. And that's one easy notification that we tell our users, which gives the reliability for our product. But what is interesting about this? The interesting thing about this is that not only we just send a notification about failed email, but we also maintain the history of all these failed emails. How do we do that? We do that by checking the status of the job queue that runs the document mailing CodeUnit. So let's see how we do it. This is the method where we actually see if the job queue that was supposed to send an email was successful or not. And if it wasn't successful, we just notify that set status as failed or set status as successfully finished. And this is the table that shows that maintains all the history. So like I showed you before, you can go and show all this history of failed emails to the user, so that they can take the appropriate actions. If you're trying to send email in foreground and you still want to maintain the history of all these failed emails, all you have to do while sending an email, you have to also send the status to this table, and then you can have all the history. Yeah. So, if a customer comes back and tell you, I never got that invoice, you can say, no, I know you did get the invoice because it's not in my failed history. So we just saw so many nice features like first run experience, new platform capabilities, new CL features like pulse events and history. And what's in for you in all this? I repeat, all of this is available in next on-premise release and Dynamics 365 Tenerife platform. So now Andreas is going to talk about simplified experience of invoicing phone app.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. So, yes. Let's see if this works. There we go. Yeah, so I'll talk about how we have created an O365 business app experience in Tenerife for the phone app. So before we start talking too much about the phone app, let's just talk about our customer, because we need to align this to how they will use this. So our customers are users with no financial experience at all. So we have to think about that. They have no IT support, and they don't even have IT knowledge or interest. And these are users with very small companies and very basic needs. Some of them even write down their invoices on a piece of paper or in Excel or something like that. So how do we simplify Tenerife for this? So obviously, first we avoid all our financial wordings like post-sales document. We use simple and understandable error messages, like we avoid the table name does not exist, identification fields and values. We use simple actions like send invoice, register unregister payment, create tax area, things they understand and know how to use. Then we bring an Of365 aligned experience to the phone, so we have a specific Android iOS experience. We have a contact picker, swipe, and more. So let's first take a look at the phone experience, how that looks like. So we took a look at how can we design this financials phone experience to our Office 365 business user and align it really to look like one of the apps they would be using. So this is what we came up with. So on the left you have the iPhone app, and on the right the Android app. So you can see there's some subtle differences because you expect to find your actions in different places based on what operating system you're using. So let's take a look at how this looks. Yeah, so as Ievgenii already showed, here we have our phone app, and I can, on the first page, see a nice overview of my company. I can also flip through to see my invoices, customers, prices, and settings. So now, let's say I want to create a new customer. I'm out I just did some work for a customer. I'm out there and trying to create this invoice immediately. So that means I already called this customer and I have him in my phone. I may even have put in his email address and address in there. So what do? I, of course, expect to be able to import this directly from my phone, so I don't have to duplicate it, which would be a great hassle for me. So this is the first feature we have. Here you have the action to import contact, which will open up Contact Picker, where I can now find the person I'm out at. So now I'm out doing some work for Ievgenii, so let's pick him. And we see immediately we put in his name, email, phone number, and address. So now I can go also see his address. So of course we fill out as much data as is in the contact. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, you probably didn't, when I open this address, I actually just click anywhere on this field, which is also a new feature that we have for the invoicing, which will come later on, but it's not coming out right now, but will come later. Okay, yeah, so in other words, you don't have to click this tiny little arrow on the side, which we discovered a lot of our users had problems doing. Once I'm done, I can simply just swipe here Ievgenii to perform an action. So in this case, I actually want to create an invoice, so I just swipe here, and now I have the option to create an invoice or an estimate. So in our terms, an estimate is a quote, but our users understand estimate better than a quote. But I want to create an invoice, and just by this simple click, I already populated Ievgenii in this invoice, and all I need to do now is add a line, and I can send it. Done. So let's go back and take a look at what happened here. So yeah, what is in this for you that you can use? So first of all, we have the contact picker, which use the exact same implementation as other client capabilities. It was shown quickly. It was shown earlier, but I'll just quickly go through it again. So you can, of course, check whether it's available and hide your actions based on the availability of this feature. Then you can request the device contact asynchronously, which will open the contact picker, ask for permissions if that is needed, and once the user has found the contact they want to import, the device contact retrieved will be called, and we can then create a customer from the template and fill in the name, email, phone number, and so on from there. And you're ready to go, and you can use this customer. And of course, you can modify this however you like, whatever you need to do to support your customers. Next, we have the swipe. So yeah, in here you saw we have two swipe actions. When I swiped, this is a new invoice, a new estimate. So if you, here on the right side of our action designer, we have a gesture, and you can define what kind of swipe will result in this action appearing. So if you have multiple gestures for multiple actions for the same gesture, these will show up, and you can have up to 3 gestures for each kind of swipe. Yeah, and they will of course, act like normal actions in NAV. Next, I would like to talk to you about our simplified business scenarios. So again, it's important to take a look at our users and remember that these users have absolutely no financial experience. So they don't understand what posting invoice is or and similar. So how do we simplify the experience for these users? First, we focus on the actions that our users will perform, and then behind the scenes, we translate these to financial actions. So let's take a quick look at this, how it works. So if I go back to my phone.
At the line already.
Yes. So here I can see we have a nice flying elephant that we're sending. And all we need to do is go up here in Next and send this invoice. Of course, then I can review, does this look good? Again, we can view the email message, of course, and see, yes, it has this can be paid by PayPal, and this looks like the correct amount, and so on, and the PDF invoice as well. See, yes, this looks great. Once I'm satisfied with this, I just click yes to send it. Your invoice is being sent, and now in the background, it will be sent to Ievgenii, who can then pay this by PayPal or however he likes. Now, another feature that I would like to show here is payment, so how you can easily cancel a payment also. So here we have an invoice for Stan, which was paid, but say I actually made this payment incorrectly. All I need to do is, again, go into Show Payments. Here I get a nice list, a nice overview of all the payments that has occurred. So I can see he made 3 payments. And let's say this last payment was incorrect. So all I need to do is actually just swipe this payment to say I want to cancel it. Then we just want to confirm, because this is actually making entries in NAV behind the scenes whenever you want to cancel a payment, obviously. So then I click yes. And this payment registration is removed, and that's all you need to do as a user. And now you can, of course, register a new payment if that's what you like. Cool. So, what just happened here? First, we had the send invoice, which is an extremely simple task. Behind the scenes, we just do a post and send in NAV. And that's it. So I won't spend too much time on that. Next, we have the cancel payment, which is a bit more interesting. So in here, we find and show all the existing payments. So we go through our ledger entries and show this in a nice, simple way to our customer. Then once the customer chooses a payment he wants to cancel, we of course find the related customer ledger entry. Then we unapply this entry from the document and reverse the payment transaction. So these are valid financial transactions that are happening behind the scenes. And of course, we have many more of these. So all of these are, as I mentioned, simple actions that you can now do in Tenerife, and they are all valid financial actions. If you're interested in more of these actions, you can see our object range 2100 or 2100 range. So this means everything that these customers are doing are valid financial scenarios, and we're not making all kinds of hacks to make them work, but following along with what you would do in financials. Next, I would like to talk a bit about some of our additional CL app features that we have created. So more specifically, I would like to talk to you about our integration to first and third party services. So Dynamics 365 Tenerife is integrating to a lot of different services. 2 of these that I would like to point out here today is the Microsoft Graph and PayPal. Yes, so let's just go immediately into this and show you how this works. Yes, so I need to switch over here. Yeah. So, yeah, previously I just created Ievgenii in our phone app, which means it's synchronized back to Microsoft Graph. What does this mean? This means you can now use Ievgenii as a contact in any app that connects with with Microsoft Graph. So if you created a new application that interacted with Microsoft Graph, you'd now be able to use this contact immediately without having to add all this kind of information, email address, name, phone number, and all of that. So one example of an application that integrates with Microsoft Graph is connections. So in connections, here I can create a campaign for a selected audience. So in this case, I will send this to Ievgenii. I'm actually going to send a referral to him.
Yeah, it's fancy pictures.
Yes. So when this referral means that if I send this referral to Ievgenii, he will get 10% discount if he refers someone else. For instance, if he refers Monica. And then Monica will get a 10% discount as well.
Oh, then do it
So
for me.
yes. So this is a way to, of course, expand your business to get more people buying stuff from you. So I will just create this campaign with 10%. Then I can review the campaign, change the text and so on. I think this looks perfect. This is exactly what I want to send. And now, when I have to send this to someone, I actually just start writing Ievgenii. And immediately it picks up that Ievgenii was created in the graph. I can just select him, and we are ready to send the invoice. Of course, I need to give a subject. So here's something for you. And all I need to do now is send this campaign, and he can sign up another customer. Yes. Just to save time, I already did this beforehand. So when you send the campaign, this is what you'll receive. So here you see you get this nice looking email with a link here that you can use to sign up another customer, in this case, Monica. Yep. Yes, so now since Monica was signed up in Connections, and Connections is connected to Microsoft Graph, it means Monica is now available to every application that use Microsoft Graph. And which application do we know that synchronizes with the graph? Microsoft Invoicing, or Tenerife, of course. So I go back into my invoicing app, and now I can say create a new invoice. So maybe Monica came over to me and said she wants to buy something, and I simply go in, start typing Monica, and I can pick her, and immediately we contact Connections through the graph again to see, does she have any coupons. In this case, yes, she does. And we pop up notification letting you know she has a coupon. We can go in here, view this coupon, which specifies, oh, this is actually a discount of 10%. And I can see it's still valid for 26 more days. So if I want to apply this discount, I just click use coupon here. And we detect that it's a discount of 10%, so we open up our discount card. We automatically populate 10% in here. And all you need to do to apply this is click OK. Of course, you can do some changes if you have some more complex coupon. But in this case, it's just a simple 10%. So I'll click OK. Now I can go and add some lines. So let's say we add some consulting. So let's say it's 2.5 consulting hours. And down here we can see in the total that the total is $62.5, and we get a 10% discount, and we have our coupon down here. I can even click it and see that it has been applied, and remove it if it was a mistake or however. Yes, so that is coupons, a simple implementation. Next, we also have the PayPal integration. So while I've been talking, my colleagues went into PayPal, paid this invoice, and if I now open it, you can see out here that it's already paid. And if I go to payments, we can see that this invoice has been paid by PayPal. So let's go back to the presentation and take a look at, so what exactly happened here. So a lot of concepts was juggled around, and let's go through these steps one at a time so you completely follow along. So first, I used the phone app to create Ievgenii. He was created as a contact in Microsoft Graph from Tenerife. Then this is synchronized to connections, from where we can then send a campaign. Then Ievgenii signed up a new customer, Monica, which was created in Microsoft Graph. Monica is then synchronized back to Tenerife, and we can now create an invoice for her. Once we do that, we will check whether there are any coupons available. So we ask connections through the graph, whether there are any coupons. It returns with, yes, there is one coupon, and we can now show this to the user, who can then apply it and use this in coupon.
So the main point here, a lot of data integrations happen, just gonna take your mind away how data goes to different apps, but it's just transparent for the user, and you feel like nothing has happened. But a lot of stuff goes to Microsoft Graph across all Microsoft products just seamlessly to the end user, which is just amazing, like without zero delays.
Yeah, so Microsoft Graph really makes you feel like this is just one app that I'm using. I'm just using another part of the same app, which is really the message we want to give out there and make them feel like they're not using different apps, but just one. So let's take a quick look at how do we actually use the Microsoft Graph. How can you utilize this? So you can do this in these 4 simple steps. So let's just jump straight into it. So first you just create a simple table in NAV with which is of type Microsoft Graph. So this way NAV already knows, okay, this is related to the graph. Now you give external name, which is the name of the graph table you want to synchronize. Then you add fields for each field in the graph that you want to synchronize. Give it a name and a type based on the name in the graph, which means it will be then use that to synchronize into this table. Next, you need to register a table connection, which is the same setup as for CRM, which enables you to look up in the graph through this table. And actually, already now, you can use this table to look up and see data in the Microsoft Graph. But of course, we want to synchronize this data into NAV. So the way you do this is you subscribe to the unregistered connections in Graph Connection Setup, and then you register this connection. This will happen whenever you log in or whenever we decide to synchronize contacts or synchronize from the graph. And now we have established this connection, but of course we need to know where do we want to copy this data to in NAV. So we made this huge engine, which makes it much simpler for you. All you actually need to do is set up a field mapping. So we have this integration field mapping table where you simply specify how you want to integrate this. So down here below in the code sample, you can, for instance, see that we're synchronizing the graph contact given name to the contact first name, and the middle name to middle name, and so on. If you need some more special, more complex behavior, you can use events in our integration record sync, where you can synchronize to say you need 5 tables to be updated, or you need complex behavior like if this, then this. So you can simply use this to do even more complex behavior. Now, at this point, we will actually synchronize the data every time you log in. So you don't need any more than this. You can stop here, and every time you log in, we will take the data from Graph and synchronize to invoicing, to Tenerife. However, if you want instant updates, if this is something that you want to know immediately when something happens, you can also register a webhook for instant updates. Here it's important, of course, to specify the endpoint, which is the place in the graph that you want to listen to. And this is an example of how we are integrating. Yeah. And I just want to really emphasize this Microsoft Graph. It's a great place to integrate to, because you have so many entities in here that you can start using, and Microsoft is continuing to expand everything you can do in this Microsoft Graph. So you can get emails, you can get documents, conversations, like events, people, your manager. You can think of a lot of scenarios that you can use this. Next, I quickly want to just touch on the PayPal integration. So here we saw that we made a payment in PayPal, which was then synchronized to Tenerife, and we got this invoice marked as paid. So here, yeah, as I mentioned, PayPal calls us and says, we have a new payment. So how do we do this? This, of course, again, a webhook that we're using. So again, I'm not going to go too much into details, but you can see here, top right, we're registering a webhook, and then handling this call when it comes back and registering the payment for that invoice. Okay, yes. So now Ievgenii is going to talk about the journey from Office 365 to Dynamics 365 Tenerife.
So everything you just guys seen before, all example how to talk to Graph, all is available, with the Tenerife and on-premise release. Just go get inspired and build something on it. Now, here's the interesting part of the day. I want to kind of to reflect everything you just seen. So we start with a world where we have a huge reach through Office to many, many SMB users. We found them on the street with the advertisements, the campaigns. They come to our products from web, just get these beautiful apps and start using them. We also built a lot of integration to get the data from where they are today to our Office story. And you all know now it's now part of Tenerife platform. So now let's say I'm a user like that lady or this guy on a video, and I use Business Center and Office tools for half a year from now. But now I need more. I need a button which, let's say, allow me to cancel my invoices faster, or I need basic inventory management. I need some basic bank integration. Or let's say my business is growing. Now I have much more employee, and now I need much more functionality. So the question is, for you as an audience and for us, how do we take all these users, all the small SMB users all over the world, hundreds of thousands, we just discussed millions or whatever it was number, and get them to product and platform you know and love? And there's a lot of cool stuff about that. So first of all, let's say you need to find a new lead, and you need to convince him to go to our ERP. So you pre-sale, you pitch the idea, then he gives you his master data, you load them in your system, you get initial balances, basic inventory levels, open orders, setup in the test environment, then production, and then he can start to use this new software. Right? We all know the story. With that story, there is zero data migration because we already have all his data. So you guys can show, hey, if you go to Tenerife.com, whatever his name is, here's all your data. I have all your invoices, customer transactions for your last half of year. And by the way, here's a new button. And if you press this button, some magic happens. So there is zero data migration involved to our journey to financials. Second thing, because we have the data, and I realize that we have the data, and we power all our ecosystems through common data services, We can show them Power Apps, Power Flow, a lot of stuff and value he can get from our ecosystem, through our App Store, through extensions. And finally, who is the person who knows how to customize and deliver more value with NAV? Tell me, who knows? .NET architect, IX consultant, CRM consultant, who knows? You! No, really you, not me, not Monica. Well, they know very well, by the way, but it's really you. So, can you see this story happening? A lot of 100,000 SMB users come through Office, they want to get more, and then they come to you and you say, we have your data, here's a new button, you click this button, you have this nice chart, stay with us. Can you feel the story? Is it a great story? It's an amazing story. It's the best story I've heard on this NAV TechDays, except on a, what is your favorite place to get a burger? McDonald's, where you can, get an order on a phone. So it's an amazing story. So where we are today with the story, so basically we're trying to figure out how do you do that. All these tools, all new business apps is released as of 2 weeks of now. We start with the 3 countries. And primarily the reason because our ERP backend Tenerife is only in those 3 countries. There is no way we can go to, let's say, Norway for now, is there is no ERP backend, so we can build our Office offer on top. So, not yet. So the main idea and collection for you, if you're partners from UK, or if you know how to get to US IP addresses, just go ahead, try apps, and see what they can do. It's an amazing place to start. We're going to build them more and more and more to get more and more value to SMB user, to understand what is the minimum set of value we need to deliver so we can get a higher retention and people will love those tools and use. And when we do that, and once you have a Tenerife release coming in spring with a global presence, with a lot of countries in W1, then somewhere in this time we'll have a story. How do we take those SMB Office users and can get them to our Tenerife platform with the help of our channel? Do you see this story happening? Can you relate to that? Can you see potential? To see potential? Can more people see potential? Super. So, on the first keynote, there was a question, how many people tried Tenerife? And I saw, how many hands? I saw heartbreaking a number of hands. I saw like 3% of the audience. So guys, that's just horrible, horrible number. If you want to be part of that story, taking those million users of leads to Dynamics, Financials, Tenerife, you really need to know our tools. What is the process? How do we build them as an extension? And so on and so forth. So please educate yourself, try, be curious. Like a friend of mine who sent me an email on the first morning, what has happened? Just stay curious. And that leads us to Q&A. We have 8 minutes left, which is on time.
Yeah,
we can talk about everything you've seen today. So we have boxes. Boxes.
And t-shirts.
You can grab all these t-shirts after all if you want.
Yeah.
They're just available for you. It's an excellent L size, by the way. I don't know. Yes, please.
Great story. I wonder, what do you think? Is there any place for dynamic CRM in the future, in the near future?
So there's always a place for dynamic CRM in any foreseeable future. Absolutely. It doesn't remove anything of that. As a part of Business Center, we have a very basic, small email marketing. Really, nothing more than that. And if they need to grow, they need to go to proper CRM offer. And again, we can get all the data through CDS integration to the bigger SKU. It's a very similar as you think about ERP. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
It is.
In the current business center, can we get VAT returns?
Sorry?
VAT returns. Like if a person is using that Microsoft Invoicing app, and he need to submit VAT returns, isn't it? So can we generate a VAT return statement from the business center?
Not currently.
Can you maybe repeat the question first?
Yeah, he's trying to say that can we have VAT returns via Business Center?
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes, if I'm understanding
Yeah.
it correctly. And not currently, because I think, as we said before, our users demand a very simple and easy to go functionality. So that's not in scope right now, but if they need it, we will build it. Since
Because that is the main
Exactly.
part of a business, isn't it? Like he want to submit his.
So
VAT.
that's a great next step, right? How you provide your taxes and VAT claims. So right now we just roll out those apps in UK, and next Max will just going to improve it more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So if that's like a top 1 request, we'll get it there.
And also, like, you showed us how to go to Tenerife account from the business center.
Yes.
Like, but currently when I log into my business center, I can't see that Tenerife ID over there.
Yeah, so by the way, I show you how to get to Tenerife, but I shouldn't supposed to, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So you know Tenerife backend exists, you can
Yeah.
access with a proper link,
Yeah.
but it's not like we allow you to get more functionality without any trial. So
Okay.
for now, we haven't figured out this story, this journey yet, how we got there.
Okay.
So from Office perspective, it's just hidden. It feels like Office, looks like Office.
Yeah.
No one knows Tenerife exists unless someone like me, Monica, Andreas will tell you.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Thanks.
What about the other business processes that you're going to have in NAV? For example, you have an invoice created,
Yeah.
and you're trying to send the invoice. In between, it could be an approvals as well.
Yeah.
Are you thinking on that direction, or?
It's a great question. So what we guys do, to be very, very open with you, if you go to Google, Bing, if you type Microsoft, so the question was, what is our roadmap to build more features? Microsoft Invoicing, user voice.
Mm-hmm.
So here's our user voice, and right now it's like a 33 ideas for the first 2 weeks of launch, what can be improved. It's all around all fronts, trust me, from inventory management, to approvals, to purchases, to tax setup. I mean, you can just shoot any great idea, and we just try to evaluate if that's really what the SMB business needs first, and try to work out of that backlog.
Okay, thank
if
you.
That makes sense.
So
but I encourage you, go here, see what people saying. Like right now, the top idea is that they want to have a rescheduled, periodic invoices to be sent. That looks like on top of everyone's mind.
Okay. And the other question is, what about the authentication method? You said the Tenerife on-premise version is also going to support this. And do you also have any authentication method except the Azure, for example, the Windows authentication or NAV user password authentication?
On-premise release?
Yes.
So what we meant by on-premise releases supporting is that all this functionality that we have while building Business Center is supported on-premise. So you can right now just use how to connect to Graph on-premise. You can use Pulse events and all that things on-premise release. But we aren't we haven't yet decided on the story of supporting all this on-premise. So the question of authentication is that we haven't decided of supporting invoicing on-premise or Business Center on-premise yet.
Okay.
On-premise yet.
Thanks.
Yeah, there is a question, a gentleman just waiting for. By the way, guys, we'll stay here. If you need to go, take your planes, beer, just go. We'll kind of stay here for you and wait for all the questions easily. Yes, please. Someone.
Hi. I have a question about the failed mail technology. So how do you really manage to see that it failed?
Yeah. So we are not right now doing the failed in two ways. So first of all, if you have set up your credentials incorrectly, and then we also have if your customer emails is set up incorrectly. But what I understand is your question is how do you get something that is not sent and you get notified to SMTP server and then you notify. That's not what we are currently supporting because what happens is that if your email is somehow not relayed correctly, then you get that it has been not relayed in the inbox anyways. So that's not what we are trying to say. We're trying to say that you have set up something incorrectly in the to address or the form address and that's how we are doing the SMTP setup. So it's not about that you send an email and it didn't receive and then that's get notified back to Exchange and server because this could take more than 3 days or 3 hours. We don't know when we will get the response. So that's not the scenario we are supporting right now.
Okay.
But you have a great scenario where like you use an email, like sales@gmail.com to send your emails to the customer, and your password is expired, and you haven't noticed that. And then your emails wouldn't get to the end customer. That's a real scenario we're trying to address from real feedback. Is that only will capture saying, hey, your password is expired, please provide us the right one so we can still send your emails to your customers. We're going to integrate to Microsoft Graph, our email API, so you'll see all the emails in your outbox folders. it'll become much more transparent. In some cases, you wouldn't even need to have any setup in the first place. So there's a lot of opportunity to improve on that part. I mean, you can do it forever.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
My question is, I can see how important is it. I can see how important the plug and play, but my question is a little bit higher level. In the back end, it's NAV. So is it just an extra layer between the NAV and the user? Why we, let's say, for example, have light version, light customer card, and just give it light NAV to the customer?
Yeah, so it's a great question. The question is it like a small addition of NAV to support that? It's all about license and security. Right now, we're just saying invoicing give you basic capabilities. You pay for them via Office subscription license, so to speak, and you get this functionality out of that license. We can easily remove, as our journey will start, we'll remove those license limitations. So one day, you can do the journey to get full NAV for that guy. It's really about, what we show to him, if it makes sense. Yeah. So right now it's available as a part of Office Business Premium license E5, which costs start from $12 a month for a user. You get all Microsoft technology, OneDrive, Windows, blah, blah, and also business apps, which is a great deal to him. If you want to move him to Tenerife, it's a very different discussion, pricing on SKU and so on and so forth. We haven't figured out it yet. We need to find some answer before spring on that. That's just where we are.
Hello. You've done a very good job over there. I'm very like all of this, but one question. I like the simplified just-in-time setups. This is very cool for the small companies. They could just start right away without our help, right?
Exactly.
But on the back end, there is a Tenerife, so there have to be some setups. And we saw the initialized setup functions that in CL code. That's okay. But what the chart of account that there exists? Is it some generic US chart of account?
Yeah, so it's a great question. The question is, all this setup we need to enable this process, how then can you go and modify it if you need? And that's exactly the part of our transition story. When you're going to be transition, you should be able to modify everything that was there here, which makes sense to your counter. We just found the basic defaults, which we believe makes sense to get them started with zero downtime, which is, by the way, just amazing job to make it happen in the first place. It's not something you can get for free in ERP systems, even so simple as NAV.
Yeah, and let me also just mention, so we based this on my company, as you know, in Tenerife and so on. When you sign up, you have my company, that is the company we're using, and then we're simply just modifying some things behind the scenes so you can use it immediately.
So we're out of time.
So it's my company.
So a little bit out of time. We really appreciate the time today. Thanks for being with us. Learn Tenerife and things. We'll stay here for a question, and you're an amazing audience to have. And it's an amazing video. First time, just send it to your friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.